Hey, Zeke.
Yo.
Good thing this is recorded because you're never going to hear me say this again. I missed you.
Well, it's not surprising.
Did you miss me?
Oh, that's what I was supposed to say. Shoot.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Edwards, and with me, as always, is Zeke Baker, and together we make the Dad's Drinking Bourbon. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, thank you for making us a part of your day. This is the first time we're getting together in about 2 weeks. I still haven't seen you in 3.5 months, but I still needed a little bit of a break from you. We hope everybody enjoyed listening to some classic Dad's Drinking Bourbon episodes. I think the fun thing about that for me was just how different we sound from the beginning to now. Like things that we have in such a routine, the opening, the closing, the flow was even just totally different in those early first year episodes.
Did it kind of remind you of like watching 8 Mile?
If you had one shot.
Why do you always go to that line anytime somebody says 8 Mile?
I don't know. What other line do you go to?
I like the whole progression. At first, he's stuttering and barely like spit a line on the mic. Or when he gets on stage, then by the end of it, he's just like, boom.
I don't use movies that happened pre-2004 for every analogy I have for movies. So it's hard for me to keep up. I was younger. I forget everything about 8 Mile. I don't remember it word for word like you do.
I just remember the concept of how the movie went, the plot.
I don't know. You're going to pull out in some chat. You're going to come up with like this crazy 8 Mile quote and be like, see, Edwards, why don't you remember this quote from 8 Mile from shit? What year did 8 Mile come out? 8 Mile came out in 2002. It's in the sweet spot for Zeke Baker. It is pre-2004.
I still think I got a better chance of somebody recognizing the analogy I referenced than when you drop out random trivia over these Disney movies and stuff.
Well, it's not just Disney movies. It's kind of everything. I did see a great movie last night. I was supposed to record with you, and I said I was tired. I needed to sleep, and I fell asleep for like 30 to 45 minutes. And then I woke up and watched on Netflix The Old Guard. I definitely recommend that if anybody has seen it. I mean, it's Charlize Theron as a superhero comic book character that is immortal, and they just go around kicking ass. It's an awesome movie.
Who is they? You mentioned one person.
Well, Charlize Theron has a team. You probably don't know the other actors, but there's a team of 4 immortals that go around and kick ass.
See, that's much more concise and paints a better picture. You can't just leave the ambiguous they.
Well, I want you to watch it, and then you can come back and talk specifics with me. I don't want to spoil it for you. What if you didn't want to know there was 4?
I just want you to want me.
I need you to need me. And you know what else I need? I need everybody to know that today's show is sponsored by CaskCartel.com, changing the industry standard as to how you get your alcohol. Obviously, it is online alcohol sales. The allocated stuff is going to be a little more expensive, but your regular drinkers, the stuff you want to get shipped directly to your door because you're like Zeke, you're lazy, you want to stay on the couch, go ahead and go to Cask Cartel and get it shipped right to your door. Also, follow them on Instagram. They're always doing awesome giveaways to their followers. That is Cask Cartel on Instagram and CaskCartel.com. So now that we got that out of the way, I did go to our people. And before we get into this, we are drinking the 4-Gate River Kelvin Rye. It is the 7th release from 4-Gate. But I did ask the people, I said, is there anything you want me to ask Zeke Baker? I'm recording with him tonight. So just rapid fire, Zeke. I have some questions for you. Our friend Blake wants to know why the trucker hat?
Because I got a big ass head and it's the only thing that fits.
Luke Castle asked, when is the stash returning? To which I replied to him, he can ask a better question. Everybody asks that question. But Luke, I'm going to answer this one for you. I am staring at a Zeke Baker goatee. So the stash is gone, but Goat Boy is here. Aaron Mankin wants to know, is it really better than GTS?
there'll be plenty of chances to find out later this year, I think.
This might be my favorite question. Troy, our buddy from Wisconsin, asks, what condiment does Zeke recommend one leave on a pillow if no chocolates are available?
Is a chocolate a condiment? I thought it was more like something you eat.
I don't know. You know these Wisconsin folks. Like, I think of a condiment like ketchup and mustard.
Yeah, I say I wouldn't recommend leaving it on a pillow, but my default condiment is always mustard.
Yeah, like I would not leave mustard on a pillow for somebody, but maybe he means a mint instead of a chocolate. If it was going to be in the candy realm, like a chocolate would be, I don't even think like chocolate and condiments are in the same family. It's not even like saying it's apples and oranges. It's like apples and bread.
I'm baffled, but sticking to condiments, my default is always mustard.
What about a candy-like thing to put on somebody's pillow if you don't have a chocolate?
The pride of Minnesota, salted nut roll.
Why do you have one that you're showing me right now?
They were left here. I was told it was the pride of Minnesota.
Adam asked, why are you into sneakers and do you spend more money on sneakers than bourbon?
I mean, who doesn't love good-looking kicks? And no comment.
I always say as a fat guy, the only thing I have are shoes and watches and hats. The rest of the clothes, I just got to take whatever fits. Chad Huffman asked, favorite bourbon barrel pick you've ever been on?
I think my favorite one would probably be the time at Four Roses. What my vote for number one, no one else put down. And then later I found out that others were fans of it. They were just sneaking it out on the slide, not telling anybody. And that was like, my confirmation that my palate hadn't gone totally sideways that morning.
So that was it. It was the Four Roses pick. No pick with me was one of your favorites.
I don't know. I was just trying to think of I don't know. It's an awkward question. I mean, great experiences and plenty of great moments. I think that one just kind of always stands out to me because when we all put our rankings up on the board, I'm like, are you shitting me? Like, I'm the only person that put this down as number one? Like, half the people didn't have it in their top 4 or 5. I'm like, get the F out of here. No way possible.
This was fun to take a break, get back into you and I giving each other hell. But we are going to drink 4-Gate River Kelvin Rye. This is their 7th release. It is blended from 7-year-old barrels of 95.5 Indiana straight rye whiskey and bottled at 113.2 proof, which is 56.6% ABV. There were 1,484 bottles produced. They're available in Kentucky, Indiana, and on steelbox.com. The cool thing about this one, though, Zeke, is they're releasing this one now, and then over the next 8 months, they are going to release 2 additional barrel finishes. So the first one is going to be the split stave barrels that they do, and then the second is going to be finished in ruby port rum casks, and that'll be in 2021. The split stave will come out this holiday season. If you have not been following what 4-Gate does, they go and source a lot of awesome whiskey from a lot of places, put unique finishes on it, have their kind of spin on that whiskey, and then release it. We've liked a lot of the stuff they've done in the past. I think the Outer Loop Orbit had to have been our favorite. Could be wrong. Did we like that other one we tried in May more than the Outer Loop Orbit? I can't even remember. Everything's a blur.
I would agree in terms of the various finished products that they've put out. But as far as best release overall, I think was, to me, the first batch of just straight Kentucky bourbon whiskey they put out that was most likely 9 to 11 year Russells.
Was that the one we did in May?
No, I think we did the finished stuff then.
Oh, it was cognac and rum was the one we did in May.
Cognac?
Yeah. And then I did like that Russell's. Well, do we know it was Russell's? Is it confirmed?
More so than unconfirmed, I think. Be the best way to leave it, probably.
So we should say alleged Russell's.
Supposedly.
Yeah, lots of allegeds. This was a 7-year Indiana rye. Do you know why everybody calls it Indiana rye?
Probably because that's the only thing that's been consistent versus the name changing from LDI to LDGPMI, whatever, MGPI.
I feel like everybody kind of moved. They used to say MGP rye, and now everybody just says Indiana rye. And it's like every brand does it. So I almost wonder if the messaging came from MGP to say, don't call this MGP rye, call it Indiana rye.
That I don't know.
Things that keep me up at night. What can I say?
Charlize Theron?
I mean, it was a great movie. I'm just telling you, if you like comic books, you like action movies, that movie kicked ass. But what did you think about this rye whiskey, Zeke Baker?
Assuming this Indiana rye is also 95.5 mash bill and not something unique or random, is that right?
This is 95.5.
Gotcha. Coming into it, nose-wise, I just put down that it was buttery and minty. Something about it just, I mean, at first seemed kind of like strangely, I mean, maybe it reminded me of a bag of popcorn when you first open it. There's just kind of like this freshness and butteriness to it. Doesn't really remind me of a rye in any regard. But then behind that, the mint definitely comes through that I would say is more typical of a rye profile. Moving on to the palate, I thought it was minty, seemed somewhat light. It had a slight spice. It was never too big or bold, but on the back end of the pour, it really kind of hung around and moved into a nice, good finish that I thought was just kind of very crisp as well.
I think I have to agree with you with the buttery mint on the nose. I would also add a little bit of pepper in there, maybe a little bit of orange. The funny thing is the taste for me, there was pepper and spice, but there was this like iced tea that I got from it. Like it was like a minty iced tea with a little bit of spice that kind of kicks in on the back end.
I guess what I always describe as an earthiness of unsweet tea almost.
Oh yeah, it was not sweet tea, but it was like minty, unsweet tea. Fades into that kind of spiciness on the back end, like you were saying. So I agree with you on your assessment wholeheartedly. I just think that I got a little bit of that unsweet tea in there as well.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Coincidentally, this past Friday, I was a part of two different pick groups, picked from total of 8 barrels of 95.5 rye. So I didn't have the most zest in taking a whole bunch of notes. I would say, outside of the tasting notes here, though, what kind of perplexes me to a degree is, I feel like most everything Fourgate's done, other than, the mentioned Kentucky Straight Bourbon whiskey they put out, has been, based on, Kelvin special barrels, doing unique finished or some other unique method or whatever to take what would be the normal stock flavor, so to speak, and, put a new spin on it and accent it in a different way. Since, there are other sources and areas that are also putting out very similar 95.5 rye from Indiana, I wonder why they just roll with this essentially as it was from the barrel versus putting some type of unique spin on it. I mean, I heard you say that they're planning to do that later in 2 separate releases. I'm just not sure what the rationale behind not just going in straight into that was.
They still give a nod to Kelvin with this, even though Kelvin was not involved in this, and they are referring to a river in the UK with River Kelvin. But at the same time, I think this is kind of cool because you have the progression. You have the unfinished whiskey, then you're going to have finished whiskey with the split stave, and then you'll have the finish in the port rum casks. I think that's kind of cool where you could taste the same whiskey 3 different ways, and it might be fun to even do a little kit with those. At the same time, where I have concern here is that are there a small number with 1,484 bottles? Yes. Do I think that justifies $175 for 7-year rye that nothing has been done to? Or I think we could find Indiana 7-year rye barrels for a lot cheaper than that, 100%. I know that they're keeping their pricing consistent across the board, and they're always kind of in that high $100 to $200 range. But what I really think would have been better would have been to release this one at a lower price and then raise the price for the finished ones if they cost more to produce.
I mean, like I say, I tasted through at least 8 barrels of 7-year Indiana rye this past Friday. It's going to come in at whoever. What president's on the 50?
Ulysses S. Grant.
Yeah, I mean, I tasted through 8 barrels of 7-year Indiana rye this past Friday and, doing a couple of picks. And those bottles are going to come in at, a smooth Ulysses S. Grant less than this other price for seemingly, obviously not apples to apples being single barrels, but on paper, I think most people would have to see it that way.
Yeah, I just don't see, and I know I don't want to be nitpicky about price, and I know people get upset when we start talking about price, but like my whole thing is if this keeps trending up and you have 7-year rye going for $175, when does it stop? the whole trend is for everything to go up. I think it almost makes me want to go get, I mean, you think about like Old Forester rye, and you think about like Wild Turkey 101 rye or Saz rye, and you get some really good stuff that's out there for $30. It makes me wonder, okay, if I'm going to get that minty, piney taste out of that, like, does it really matter if I pay $175 opposed to $30? It's tough. It's the question you have to ask yourself. Everybody's going to have different taste, and everybody's going to have, I mean, things are relatively worth different for everyone. I think this is a great whiskey. I think it tastes very good. I enjoy it. If you have $175 disposable income, by all means, go get it. Me personally, I can't justify spending $175 on this whiskey.
No, I mean, I even went and got a pour from the pour one for George Charity Barrel we did with Nashville Barrel Co. just to compare them side by side. And I mean, there's minor nuances if you really want to get down to the nitty gritty and be real nitpicky or nerd out as we can do. But as far as just sitting back and enjoying a pour without putting a whole lot of thought into it, there's just no reason to overpay, in my opinion.
I'm with you on that. I mean, I do think Foregate puts out some good stuff, and there has been some Foregate releases that we are like, absolutely, at $200, at $175, this is worth it. I just think this was almost a little bit of a misstep because you see some of the other ryes that are on the market in that same year of release from the same place they're sourcing from, and the pricing just doesn't compute to me.
Yeah, I mean, the other stuff, I think it was more validated through, creativity and nuances that you couldn't get elsewhere, and truly, some innovation. That's to me where this one really falls off and makes the price point just kind of stand out and scratch your head in your ass kind of thing. Like, why?
Yeah. That being said, I could then come back and really enjoy the finishes from this same run, with the same whiskey and the same blend. I might really like that port rum, or I might really like that split stave. You never know. And I might say, okay, yeah, pass on the first one, but you really need to get one of these finishes.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm equally as intrigued on those, but this one just like when, you're throwing a dart or something and just don't quite get to the target and, comes up a little short. That's about where I put this one.
Yeah, I'd love to taste all three side by side, and I can't wait to do that. But anyways, thank you to the folks at Foregate for sending us this sample. As always, sending us a sample has no effect on what we actually think about it. Zeke, today's show is also sponsored by PremiumBarProducts.com, the only place you can go to get the Dad's Drinking Bourbon official Glencairn glass with the Dad's Drinking Bourbon logo on it. Get one by going to PremiumBarProducts.com, search the menu, look for DDB glass. While you're there, you can also laser etch and personalize your own glassware to whatever you want. You want to bring back the stash on there? Go ahead and do that. You want to put Zeke is the GOAT boy? You can do that as well. Zeke is the GOAT, ... boy. But go to PremiumBarProducts.com. They have all sorts of awesome glasses. I have this perfect dram, and it's a 3-ounce glass, Zeke. I sent you a picture of it. Next time I put a little care package on your doorstep, this glass, I'm not lying, is like my new favorite tasting glass.
Has it helped your palate any, though?
Yeah, it might fix yours. Anyways, find us on Facebook at Dad's Drinking Bourbon, Twitter at Bourbon Dads, Instagram at Dad's Drinking Bourbon. Find us wherever you download your podcasts. Chances are you already have. If you are listening to us right now, please leave us an open and honest review like we leave open and honest reviews about the whiskey we drink. Zeke, where else can the folks find us?
Good old Music City, USA. Just not in the bars.
Cheers.
Ciao.